Imagine being a kid again and you go to a pizza buffet with your family one night. You get there, the pizza's good, everything is good, the vibes are good, but at the corner of your eye you see a dark room which you realize it's an arcade. Being young, being a gamer, of course your first thought is, hey dad, give me some quarters, I'm trying to go in there and play some games. So you finally get the quarters, you get up and you're super excited. You slowly make your way to this little room tucked away in the corner of the buffet, wondering what games are in here, because once again you literally cannot see anything in there since it is pitch dark past the screens being turned on. You finally get in and the first fucking thing you see is this goddamn thing in front of your face and you scream and run out of that room. This is actually a true story that happened to me, so let's talk about Carnevil today. Carnevil has always been a very infamous game for myself for this story alone, obviously. I mean, this shit was really traumatizing for me as a kid. Can you really imagine this is how you get introduced to Carnevil? Granted, I did go back in after I got a little bit scared and I played the game and I fell in love with Carnevil. It's really an arcade game that once you sit back after so many years and think about it, the first thought you have is, why has this never been ported to anything? This is a game that is stuck in arcades. And it really does suck because I consider this game an all-time classic, and for a game to be this unplayable and to be a classic for me, it's pretty heartbreaking. Of course you can play it, you see it on my screen right now, but you do have to go through a couple of hoops and hurdles to get it started. But Lord, once you do get it started, you are in for some great Halloween light gun action. So if you couldn't tell by now, Carnevil is a light gun game that was made by Midway that was released only in arcades. And my god, Midway was really killing it in the arcades now that I really think about it. Like every time you would go into an arcade and you saw a machine with that Midway logo, you would play it. Like you would just play it. You wouldn't think about it. It's Midway. You're gonna play it. And Carnevil was no exception, but I was a huge fan of light gun games. I still am a huge fan of light gun games, so I was gonna play Carnevil even if it wasn't a Midway game. So what makes Carnevil such a classic game for me? Obviously my personal story that I had with it that I mentioned earlier, and just the aesthetics of this game. I mean, granted, growing up I couldn't really appreciate it because I wasn't really a huge horror fan as a kid, but later on in life I became a huge horror fan, so stuff like this just means so much more to me now. Carnevil really feels like you're playing through an old cheesy horror movie, with each level of the game just oozing with its own aesthetics. That's one thing I have always appreciated and adored about Carnevil, is how every level feels so different from the previous level. One thing with light gun games is that they tend to use the same enemy designs for all of its levels. The most different you may get is maybe 1 to 2 different enemies, or maybe a color change on the enemy suits. And while I don't mind that for light gun games, you really learn to appreciate the light gun games that really put into effort to really make things different for every single level. I mean, take this for an example with Carnevil from the first 2 levels of the game that you see on the screen. The first level has you fighting an upstairs battle into a big mansion. You're fighting zombies, bats, and then this fucking thing with a minigun for an arm, spiders, everything. Then all of a sudden you're on a roller coaster fighting Santa's minions and whatever the hell these things are. I mean, the change is so drastic, but it's so beautiful. And it really makes each playthrough of Carnevil feel so fresh, so full of life, so new. They really took the Carnevil setting and utilized it to the max. The OST is so creepy, so fitting, it really makes you feel like you're inside of a carnival that's pure evil. There really isn't much to talk about with Carnevil's gameplay. It's your typical light gun fare. You have enemies, you have NPCs to not shoot at, you have guns to pick up, you have health to pick up, and you have bosses to fight. It's just everything this game does outside of its gameplay is so amazing for its time. And that's not to discredit the gameplay at all. I think the gameplay is very fun, but it's one of those things where if you like light gun games, you're going to like all of them, you know what I mean? So yeah, Carnevil is a perfect Halloween game, and I plan to play it every Halloween from now on because I just recently got my hands on this version of the game. And I highly recommend you play it as well if you're able to get your hands on it. And that's all I really have to say about Carnevil. If you yourself have played it, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to read what you think about the game. And before I end the video, I was actually planning on releasing a whole different video, but I thought since it's October it'd be perfect to talk about some games that fit the Halloween spirit, so I might try to get out one more video during the month of October talking about another horror classic for me. And with that being said guys, take care, I love y'all, and I'll see y'all next time.